This is a Wild Game Production podcast. Listening to the Roll for Initiative podcast, the only Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition podcast out there.
The Roll for Initiative podcast. This is Volume 7, Issue 197. Vince, Matt.
Hello, everyone.
Nick.
Hello, everybody.
Who is back this week? And
yes,
Chrispy.
How's it going?
That's a nice intro, Chrispy. I'm very proud of you.
Every time, Vincent.
Hey, nobody vomited.
Yet.
I could say literally nothing, and Vince would still
say a great intro.
Yeah, still.
Maybe you should surprise me with a great intro sometime, Chrispy.
You know, something like Excelsior.
Yeah, he can be Stanley. Excelsior.
I want to do something really mean, but like, I don't want it to get cut. Well, it would have to be cut out.
Yeah, we'd have to bleep it.
You're not going to Voldemort us. Stop it.
No.
Anyway, Chrispy aside, we do have a new show this week, and hopefully people have been enjoying the show since we've been back from our little hiatus. I know we've got some pretty good feedback on a lot of the shows, especially the Too Much Gold episode. We got a lot of people chattering in on that one, and a lot of good comments on Facebook and interactions, and we've been going back and forth on that, so it's been fun. Right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
I concur with you, sir.
And Nick is back in full force after his loss of voice, so hopefully he'll be chatting away with us this week.
A 3-week cold. I failed my con.
Yeah, you did,
It
definitely.
sucks getting old. That's all I could say.
Yeah, big time.
Oh, my goodness. It knocked me for a loop. I'm finally over it.
All right, well, there's nothing really news-wise to say this week, so we're just going to go right into the thick of things and go right into table matters this week.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Okay, everybody, this week on Table Manners, we're going to cover multi-class characters and, you know, how it goes by the book. Also, you know, what your favorite combo of multi-class characters that there are, and maybe just a little bit of a round table about, you know, what your feelings are multi-class characters amongst us, you know, how they feel about, you know, if you use them or not, and some of the advantages and disadvantages of using a multi-class characters in your game. So just to give a baseline for everybody, so far as multi-class characters, the rules are concerned, they're kind of scattered around the player's handbook. Yeah. And which was kind of weird. So you got to pick out the paragraphs that pertain to multi-class characters. It does start right off in the, you know, page 18 of player's handbook under character classes, the second paragraph. When they talk about multi-class characters there, and it says, note that non-human and semi-human race characters who are multi-class are typically bound by the limitations of the thief class only. Right. So, for example, if you have a fighter magic user, you could benefit from the armor, weaponry, and spells of both those classes combined. But if you have a fighter thief, you are limited in the type of armor of a thief class. So you can only use like studded leather or leather armor or hide and whatnot. So that's one rule about multi-class characters. So that should, for one thing, put the rest about the people saying, how do multi-class characters that are magic users, can they wear armor? Well, they can. So
it never made sense, though.
And even metal armor. So, yes, they can.
I agree. Yeah, they can. It just never really made sense in my mind how they
Right.
can, just because they're multi-class.
I have a theory on that.
All right.
But I'll moving on from that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But when it comes to creating hit dice for multi-class characters, as we all know, just to reiterate, when it comes to doing the hit points, you take the number of character classes. We'll make it easy. Let's say you're doing a fighter magic user. You have a D4 and a D10, right, to generate hit points. You roll one die for each one, add them together, divide by 2, and that's your hit points, and then add in your constitution adjustment. And that's your hit points.
I know a lot of people have added the Constitution bonuses to both the rolls in the past, but no,
Yes,
that's
actually something I wanted to bring up. That's one of my gotcha moments I was talking about. So the rules for Constitution, that extra hit points is per hit die.
Yeah, but you don't do it that way. But yeah, I see how you keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've heard it. Go ahead, Crispy.
So yeah, that's one of the multi-classing. You do progress a lot slower because you are dividing that XP, but you have if you are doing it, if you're interpreting the rules as written, that's a huge bonus, especially if you have a +1 con and you're an elf who's a fighter, magic user, thief. That's 3 extra. That's an extra thief hit die.
Well, hold on a second though. When do you add the Constitution bonus? Before you divide by the number of hit dice, or after?
It's after.
You would just
the example that I've given in the book is after.
Yeah, it's after.
I've heard people do it. Yeah, I've heard people do it actually multiple ways. I've heard
total the sum of all dice rolled and adjust for Constitution, then divide. So it actually is after.
Right.
So
or you divide after rather.
Well, I'm wondering though, maybe that will compensate for, because if you think about it, let's use our fighter magic user example. Say you have a D10 and you roll a D4. Let's say you rolled on the D10, you rolled a.
Let's just do the
7.
average 5.5 and 2.5.
No, let's do whole frickin' numbers because that's how my brain works.
Yeah, Crispy.
No fractions. Because math is for the devil.
Let's just do Common Core math.
Yes, thank you. So let's say you roll a 7.
20 hit points.
Yeah. What? 20 hit points.
It's Common Core.
Oh, okay.
It's approximate.
Okay. Let's say you roll the 7 on the D10, and unfortunately you roll a 1 on the D4.
Right.
So your total is 8.
Okay.
That's the average of those 2 dice.
Shut up, Crispy. Let him finish.
Sorry, Nick.
Nick, continue.
And then you divide by 2, and that's 4, and then you add your con bonus. Let's say the con bonus is
+1.
+1. So +1 for each die, that would be 6. So I could see why adding the con bonus per die after you divide by the number of classes, number of hit dice, kind of compensates for that low hit point.
See, now I've done it when you just add it once, not twice.
Yeah. Because if you add it twice and then divide by 2, it's the same as adding it once.
Right.
With the math that we did, if you do it after dividing, you end up with 6. If you do it before dividing, you end up with 5.
So you end up with 1 extra hit point.
Yep.
So and like I was saying, that maybe compensates for how usually multi-class characters generally have relatively low hit points. So I can understand the rationale of adding the Constitution bonus after the fact.
Generally, in my games, I just don't do multi-classing at all. I just do single class.
That's the end of this segment.
Yeah. Well, no, that's just me. Me personally. I don't know. Maybe you do it differently. So continue.
Yeah. I don't mind multi-classing.
Well, good for you.
I don't mind it. I just never had anyone that's actually wanted to mess with it because of it. How convoluted it can be when everyone gets the level except you.
Yeah.
And just a lot of people don't like the fact that they're going to be the first level. When everyone else in the party, when everyone else in the party is like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the weirdness of how do you guys add? How do you add those levels with hit dice?
Well,
what do you mean?
Wait, I know when. Are you talking about like when you get maximum level for a class? Do you get that?
I'm just talking about you go from your fighter magic user 1/1, then you go fighter magic 2/1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do you add a half hit die? Do you wait to add the sum total after leveling both classes evenly rather?
You take that die and divide it by 2.
Yeah, that's how I always would have done it. Take the die
and add your con bonus. Because if you don't level at the same time, you still have to divide it by the number of classes that you have. Yeah, and also that going along with that is if you max out in a class, say
you're screwed.
Yeah, that class, like again, our fighter magic user example, you only could go fighter X amount of levels. Once you reach that level, you can no longer gain hit dice for that class.
What is the actual cap for elf in AD&D? I know in OD&D it's 4.
For fighter?
Yeah,
elf?
Specifically just fighter for elf.
7.
Where's that? 7. Okay.
As long as they have a... Oh, wait, so...
Depends on ability score if you look under
that's
Arcane.
right. Yeah. A little 2 there. But officially they're elf on a shelf, so... Yes, I went there.
How about a gnome on a dome?
Ooh. No, Chrispy hates gnomes, so...
I do hate gnomes.
But yeah, that... I don't know, I don't really particularly enjoy multiclassing because I can't stand figuring it out half the time. And I've noticed a lot of people that play multiclassing that are like new people in my group. They're just pick these weird combinations, and then I find out that they're doing it because they're trying to get some edge or advantage, and then they just piss me off, and I wanted to punch them in the face, so...
I was talking to Matt about that before you got on Discord, and I was like, yeah, like I would do this just because I'm always looking for like my weird new school gamer like optimization brain goes off, where it's like, oh, if you like,
it's your fault.
If you do fighter thief magic user, you're basically a thief who can also cast magic missiles. Also, you're a wizard who has thief skills and can wear any armor.
Nope. That's where the restriction for the thief class comes in the ball.
With the thief, yes, but if you're a fighter magic user,
no,
I get to be a plate mail. I get to be a plate mail elf.
Absolutely. And there was like, I think that kind of goes into what we were saying. How is that possible? I guess you can go into a convoluted way of saying it's like, well, because elves and half elves are more in tune with magic. So they can better manipulate the magical energies, therefore they can wear metal armor.
But I have another gotcha question. Do you guys normally do max for starting hit die in your games?
I normally do, yes.
Yeah, usually I do.
Same here.
Would you do that with hit dice? Or with multiclassing hit dice?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Yeah, same thing.
Because it's not that much more powerful. I just did all the math for the fighter magic user thief. That's why I keep referring to this. It's only 6 plus con, but it might be 6 plus con times 3. But also you're an elf, so you have a constitution negative, not negative. I don't know, penalty. There we go. That's the word I want to use.
I guess.
But still, you could potentially start off with like you could have 9 HP at first level.
Yeah,
and all of these other abilities.
That's why I like the idea of, like you were saying, you add the con bonus after you divide by the number of classes, so you can still, you won't, as far as hit points wise, you're not as weak as the other classes. You're still doing okay.
By the book, it does say to add the Constitution and then divide it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah, total the sum of all. It's on page 19.
It is number 5.
So notes regarding character class tables. This is under
total of all dice rolled and adjust for con, and then divide the total.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, yeah, I guess there's a couple ways you could do it. You go by the book, or you could do the Chrispy way.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difference of 1 HP, but like,
That
like
one
they
HP
say in
could mean
Magic,
a
the
lot.
only life total that matters is 1.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very, very true. And then, and that's, well, I guess more in the player's handbook. You skip along from the regular class descriptions, and then it goes into the section where most of us are familiar with, is the on page 32.
Yeah,
where they talk a little bit more about multi-class characters and what races and different combinations there can be. And as we know, in regular AD&D, it's only the non-human and semi-human characters can multi-class. And they also have the other rule here where it says cleric combinations with fighter types may use edged weapons.
Yeah.
So, there you go. There's another thing where some people are like, oh, it's a cleric, can't use edged weapons. Nah, if it's multi-class with a fighter.
Right.
I would remove that just to annoy Nick. So
yeah,
I know you.
Yeah.
And what I also find interesting is cleric is one of the classes that you can multi-class in the most
almost
different
everything,
options.
Yeah, you can be a cleric ranger, which I thought was really weird.
No, cleric ranger is awesome.
No, I mean, like, rangers are great, clerics are great.
Yeah,
cleric ranger is awesome. You thought that's what about cleric assassin? Come on.
Yeah, but what I find, I think it's the reason they have like 6 different options is because no one really wants to be just the heal bot. This way, you could have your heal bot without act and still be something else.
I gotta say, my favorite combination is the cleric ranger. You get healing abilities, you get some other cool spells as a cleric, plus as a ranger, when you get high enough levels, you're getting magic user spells too.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite is always going to be fighter magic user.
Yeah,
just because it's the elf, it's the classic, it's the classic D&D elf. That's my wheelhouse. Listen, save or die, coming to you soon.
Soon. But you also have the weird multi-classes like that cleric assassin, which most common with, I think only half-orcs can do it. And then another one that's really powerful is cleric magic user. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, 2 spell lists.
Yeah.
You can also be a cleric fighter magic user if you're a half-elf.
Yes,
right.
Fighter magic user cleric.
Yeah, that was always my go-to in the old SSI gold box games, having one of those.
Yeah, that's a really good combination.
The jack of all trades.
Exactly. It's like you get all the weapons, you have the healing, you have the offensive spells. Yeah, you level slower, but but when you have a group of a party, it doesn't matter as much when you're working for that type of, especially if you're playing like one of the computer games. You don't really care if one of your guys doesn't level as fast.
Yeah, of course.
And yes, even though I know whoever here doesn't like play Gnomes, but the Illusionist Thief. If you're playing a Gnome Illusionist Thief, that is so much fun.
Gnome.
So much fun. So what about you, Matt? What's some of your favorites?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I already mentioned the one, my go-to, the cleric fighter magic user. But other than that, I mean, I find the cleric assassin could be very interesting from a role-playing perspective of the backstory of the cleric who brings the death. So especially if you're going for like an evil campaign, having one of these I think makes great sense.
Yeah. Well, you could also do like an Assassin's Creed assassin. Well, I guess the first Assassin's Creed more than anything.
NCO?
No, Altair.
Aww.
And that's the thing, like, with a lot of these, do you think any of these, like, the cleric assassin, I think, has a place with, like, fantasy literature. I think the fighter thief definitely with, like, the Grey Mouser. Yeah.
Well, also, the fighter thief or the fighter assassin. It's definitely, I think of as a hardcore brigand type, you know. But when you even get into the Unearthed Arcana, there's a lot more options that they added when Unearthed Arcana came out. just to go down the list here, you can be a cleric fighter, cleric ranger, cleric magic user, cleric illusionist, which is exclusive to the gnomes, cleric thief, cleric assassin. Let's see, this one is a
Right.
fighter illusionist.
It's a lot of good combinations.
Yes. Another real good one was Ranger Magic User. I know someone who's done that one. That one's really powerful.
What races can you be with Ranger Magic User? Is it just half
Ranger
elf?
Magic User, you could be a dark elf, gray or high elf, or valley or wood elf.
Oh yeah, that started getting to like the weird like let's have an elf for every color of the rainbow.
Yep.
Sea
Also,
elves and winged elves and
Hey, just being diverse. Okay?
You also have a druid fighter,
That's weird.
druid ranger, which we'll get into in a little bit because there's allegedly an alignment issue with the druid ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Druid thief, yes, there is druid thief. And I found out one of the greatest combos that I know, that druid magic user.
Okay.
Druid magic user is really, really powerful.
can you cast spells while wild shaped in first edition? Let me. Is that a thing that I can do?
I would say no.
As my weird optimization brain goes off, because it's like,
no, I don't.
I would
think
like
you
to
can
be a
cast
water
spells
elemental that can cast fireballs.
Well, it depends, I would say, on the spell, whether it was what components it had. If it had a somatic, probably not. If it had verbal, yes. Verbal material, if you had a way to actually speak your normal language, sure. But
yeah, if there's a material component to it, I don't think you could do it.
Well, depends on what also your animal shape is. If you're like a primate and have a thumb, you can hold them.
Remember, when you do one of those animal shapes, everything's morphed into the animal shape.
Yes.
So so you take your spell pouch off first.
Yeah,
Okay.
Then grab it. Make sure
All right.
you have the ability to speak your.
And then you morph into a baboon
Yes.
and fling feces at people.
And go.
Yeah. Launch stink cloud, but when you cast it, you actually turn your back to him and lean over.
Oh,
Ew.
Matt had to go there.
Yes, I did.
Oh, here's a good one. Magic user assassin. Whoa.
I think I remember a lot of people wanted to play Assassin Illusionist for some reason.
I think that is that is an option. Illusionist assassin.
Yeah.
Deep gnomes can be illusionist assassins, and deep gnomes can also be illusionist thieves. And
I hear Crispy laughing at the deep gnome thing.
I'm not laughing at like, oh, now we have more gnomes. I'm more like, God, this is like definitely getting to the point where it's like, are we really playing castles and princesses anymore? Or are we playing like weird insular, like self-referential fantasy game?
hey, this is from our Unearthed Arcana.
I
Just
would
saying.
say that's the point where it becomes insular fantasy game.
Fine.
The
Crispy
precursor
was-
to the Splat book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I like our Unearthed Arcana, so there.
It's okay,
Well, Nick, your fun's
I
wrong.
still love you.
Hashtag Nick's fun is wrong.
No, it's not.
I'm just kidding. Please don't write into the show about how
My
you
fun
want
is my fun, so there. Don't judge me.
Jeez. Are you triggered now, Nick?
Yes.
All right.
kind of touched a nerve.
And I think
I'm just kidding. I don't care what you think.
well, you want, let's head over to what you want to talk about, the Druid Ranger. You want to talk about that? Because the alignment thing.
Oh yeah, that was like a controversy for a little while when Unearthed Arcana came out, when they had that list of all the different multi-class character options. There was an errata that came out in Dragon Magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and it listed Druid Ranger.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I don't think that's possible because Rangers have to be a good alignment, but Druids are strictly neutral.
Yep.
What
was their reason?
I guess, if I remember correctly, I'm going to have to find the Dragon magazine issue, but they did say it is a viable option.
How?
It is.
Yeah, but how? If one has to be one certain alignment, how do you get around that? DM wave of hand.
The alignment restriction does not apply because you're not a full druid.
Huh. Does the ranger? I thought the ranger also had an alignment restriction.
Yes.
Yeah. Any good alignment, neutral, chaotic, lawful,
and druids have to be true neutral, don't they?
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe they're like, you're doubling up on nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was in Dragon Magazine 100.
There it is.
Matt.
I remember that one.
Dragon Magazine, page 9, issue 100. All About the Druid Ranger by Frank Menser.
Frank.
Huh.
Yeah. So, blah, blah, blah. Although the Druid Ranger is permitted in the AD&D game rules, the alignment conflict is obviously present. But the combination is equally obvious and logical. They're both woodland-oriented. Then again, why should high-level rangers gain druid spells? First, Frank says, allow this multi-class combination only for the neutral good alignment. For the rationale, consider the behavior and philosophy of each class in the context of the campaign. So they have to be neutral good.
Okay.
So that way you
compromise.
So that way you get the neutral for the druid, you get the good for the ranger, and bada-da, you're good there.
Bada boom, bada bing.
I would say that's a fair combination to sacrifice for alignment-wise, neutral good.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You could also go with like neutral with good tendencies sort of thing,
No.
No? Okay, fine.
Frank said neutral good, and that's what it is.
I'm good with Frank.
Yeah, Frank is good.
Yeah, and then he talks about...
Let's be frank about Frank.
Yeah. He talks about other alignments like chaotic good and lawful good. You can speculate to reason why they are granted the druid spells. The druid deity might consider any ranger's respect for good and treatment of nature as deserving of the boons. If the thoughtful ranger should realize that his or her actions in variance to the neutral ways will be balanced in the long run, then you get into the whole semantics of, well, what they're doing in the long scheme of things will be balance out to be neutral, therefore... Yeah.
Whoa, I'm looking at the beginning of the article. Now you want to talk about a real super powerful druid ranger magic user.
Oh, boy.
Wow. That is... I'm going to make that.
Half elf only still, right?
Right, yeah, because that was in... the Druid Ranger Magic User was from 96 at the end of the New Jobs for Demi-Humans article Gary wrote.
Druid Ranger Magic User. That's just... You're just a one-man army. Spell-slinging monstrosity.
Cutting down enemies left and right.
Yep. But yeah, pretty much the entire article is just a matter of trying to explain how... philosophy-wise, well, you can kind of make it work, even if it's not rules as written. But yeah, I think the neutral good is probably the best way to go about it.
I can see the rationale behind it. Yeah.
So. I do want to talk about one thing.
Oh, okay.
Which is the experience point penalty, I guess.
Yes, the experience point thing.
How I've always handled it, like in any kind of first edition game that I've run with multiclassing, is I just let people have one big pool and just you're one level of this thing. So if you're a fighter magic user, instead of dividing them, you level them at the same time. That's how I handle it.
That's how I handle it too. It's just so much easier because, like, normally you're supposed to split the experience points, and that's just too much damn book.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the math breaks down on that though. I guess it would be the same because total experience would still be the same, but like, I don't have to deal with like having a third of a die for HP.
Yeah,
I'll just just roll or half of a die out. Just roll them both at the same time. And
no, if they're going to play
level
multi-class, they're going to take the penalties involved with that, and I make them split up the experience. If they're going to make me
just,
through all that trouble,
my way is more of a penalty though, because you don't level right away when you hit enough fighter experience. You have to wait till you have enough for both classes, because I'm pulling them all together.
But you're still keeping them separate wise, aren't you?
No, I'm saying when you...
Which class determines... Which class determines
the total of both?
He adds the experience of both, so instead... So, like, if you were, like, a thief who levels really quick with a wizard, you're not leveling until you've hit the experience for both the thief and wizard to level.
But you... Okay, fine.
As opposed to if you split it in half, there's instances where one will level up first over the other, especially if you do experience where, you got experience using your thieving skills, so therefore that goes to your thief bundle, not your wizard bundle.
I've always done it when you get experience. You want to do multi-class? Fine. You have to divide whatever experience is your portion of it in half or in 3 and whatever, and keep a separate track. You want to play multi-class? Then that's your penalty. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
I
think it's more of a penalty, though.
Yeah, let's use, again, our fighter magic user example. You're starting first level 1/1 fighter magic user, and let's say you've earned... over a couple of adventures, you've earned like
1,000 experience points.
Let's say you've earned 2,000 experience points, or let's say 2,100.
Okay.
2,100 experience points.
Okay.
So you've earned enough experience going by the fighters table to go to level 2.
Yeah.
But if you look at the magic user, you're still 400 short of going to level 2. You need 2,501. So just leave it as one pool. You just consult your chart for your appropriate class. Instead of splitting it up, instead of splitting your experience points up, you just keep one experience point pool and just go by the chart for the classes.
Whichever's easier.
It gets weird with like fighting abilities.
Yeah,
because it's like, I have the hit points of a 3rd level thief and a 4th level fighter. That would be backwards. It would be higher with thief than it would be with fighter. But like, I fight as a this level fighter. It's just weird. It's just like, all right, if you're a fighter magic user, you need 4,500 experience points to level both at the same time.
Whichever's easier in your game.
Yeah.
That's how we work it. Whatever's easy in your game for you as a DM.
But I kind of like how Chrispy is. I hate always the splitting of the experience points between each class. It's just,
yeah, it's weird because then like your saving throw progressions change as well.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of fiddly bits,
and that's another thing with saving throws. When you do saving throws for multi-class characters, you choose the best saving throw depending on what class it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it might, again, fighter magic user, you might have a better saving throw for fighter. Like I think breath weapon is better for fighter than I think it is for magic user, for example. I'm pretty sure. So you would use the fighter saving throw for breath weapon. Spells, magic user is going to save better. So you use this magic user one. So those are all those little fine details on the on multi-class character. And there are some disadvantages. You got the, like we were talking about, the hit point progression. Also, if you split up the experience points like you do. Also going into things like you were talking about, Chrispy, like with combat.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to double check and make sure, okay, which class do I fight better as?
Yeah.
Right.
Because there might be a point where it's like, oh my gosh, I actually fight better as a cleric than I do as a fighter because my fighter is lower level.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just those little fiddly bits, but those are easily overcome. You just got to be, just got to pay attention to it, or just like Vince does, just don't use multi-class at all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No one really
I think
wants
that
it.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much covers it on multiclassing. So, put it out to everybody who's listening out there, and let us know what you think about multiclass characters. What do you do for multiclassing? Do you use it? Do you not? Do you have your own special multiclasses you made for different races? So let us know. Send us an email, or hit us up on iTunes, and or go on to Facebook and let us know. What do you think about multiclassing? And with that being said, let's move on to our next segment, DM Rules.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but I have a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
In DM Rules, this episode, issue, adventure, what do we call these? Issues,
yeah.
We're going to go over the races in the Player's Handbook.
Yay.
These have kind of become, with the exception of, the edition that will not be named, these have been the core races for basically all of D&D.
Yeah.
You've got your half-elves, your half-orcs, your halflings, your humans, your elves, dwarves, and that's all of them, I think. Yep. That's the only ones.
You say half.
If you're talking Player's Handbook, yes.
Yep. No other races.
There's a gnome in there, Crispy.
There's a gnome.
I think that you're mistaken. Do you mean Tinkerer Dwarf?
No. It's called the gnome. Page
Do you
16.
mean half? Do you mean elf halfling?
No. It's called the gnome.
I guess talking about non-evil goblins?
No. Gnome.
Gnome.
Don't
Gnome.
know.
Starts with a G, ends in
That
an E.
doesn't sound familiar. Like those little
We have to
garden
explain
things?
to everybody, Crispy doesn't like using gnomes.
So
Why?
We all
don't
have our
know.
thing.
I think everyone has their own likes and dislikes for different races. Like for me, I'm all about them elves, baby.
Okay.
Basically, if you give me the option to play an elf in anything, I'm gonna do that.
One thing I want to point out is, I'm sorry, the picture of the half-orc in this book, why does it look like a really old man that's just losing his hair and he's decrepit and old? You see that picture?
Because
there?
actually half
half-orc.
orcs, half orcs do not live very long. But what's their life expectancy?
Yeah, but they could have drawn.
Also, the strength bonus from it's the added testosterone. It's been linked with male pattern baldness.
I always thought he looked like a Cro-Magnon.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got more the Neanderthal thing going on.
It's pronounced Neanderthal. Neanderthal.
He looks like an old man. I'm sorry.
He
Hey,
just
get me my club. And the fighters and the humans pointing at him like, dude, really?
And the elf looks like she's looking at who farted? That's what she looks like.
She's like,
And the-
why am I with these
and-
guys?
Yes.
I know that
And the
old school
dwarf's going,
D&D art
"I farted."
I like old
is
school
like
D&D art.
an
I love
easy
it.
target.
No. I love the art.
The
Yeah, I do too.
proportions in this drawing are all over the place.
No, I'm just
No.
I love the artwork. I'm just, why does the half-orc look like an old man is all I was wondering.
He looks like someone. He looks like William H. Macy. Now I'm a big William H. Macy fan.
He's kind of got
Boogie
the,
Nights. Great movie.
he's kind of got the Steve Buscemi eyes going there.
Yeah.
So
He's got the receding hairline.
yeah, maybe it is Steve Buscemi.
Could be.
It's pronounced Buscemi.
Shut up, Crispy.
Anyways,
And in this picture, the other takeaway is gnomes don't exist.
Yeah.
There is
If this art is canon.
Matt, you're not helping. Not helping.
Thanks, Matt.
Not helping.
Matt's got your back.
You've always been my favorite.
Okay,
Aw.
okay, Crispy, I have to ask you, why? Why do you not like gnomes?
Look,
Yeah.
I covered this last episode when you weren't there,
Well,
but I'll go over it again.
Yes,
Please.
please.
I believe that there's no niche in fantasy literature that gnomes cover that dwarves, halflings, and elves don't already cover. So if you want like the tinker, that could be your dwarf. If you want like the magic fae person, that's your elf. Short thing, dwarf and halfling. Kind of greedy, foolish character, that's your halfling. People often bring up the argument, well, like, what if I want like the Magitech thing? And it's like, that really doesn't have a place in D&D, but like they'll bring up like, oh, what if I want like World of Warcraft gnomes? I want to bring that in. It's like, well, don't World of Warcraft goblins also fill that niche of like the ones who build machines like that blow up?
Yes.
It's just everything a gnome does is already covered. They're like a weird amalgam of these three races that I don't see the need for.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, it's so much so that they ended up cutting them out of a couple, like, editions for a little bit.
It took
like,
about.
We don't need gnomes.
Yeah, the one edition had them as monsters, not characters.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what's the benefit of having a gnome? Somebody explain that to me.
Well,
they can communicate with squirrels.
Yeah.
Badgers.
Moles.
That's really going to help me fight the dragon.
You ever fought a badger?
I'm glad Squirkles gave me all that intel on the dragon's lair.
You ever fought a badger or a wolverine?
Like, personally, no.
Yes, personally.
Ever seen a Wolverine take on things? Yeah. Wolverine.
Like, I'm pretty cool with the Wolverine community. Like, we're tight, you know?
I don't think Wolverine and the Thing ever battled, though.
Shut up, Crispy.
Oh, sorry. Shut up, Crispy. So what was the point of this segment? I have no idea.
Oh,
we're talking about our likes and
dislikes. We're gnome bashing right now.
I will always bash on those red-capped. Oh, I don't have anywhere to go with that. That's the...
Red cap.
I don't know. Gnomes are kind of like if you took halfling and the dwarf and they had a love child. It's the gnome.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the gnome is kind of like the referee in a pro wrestling match. They're really not necessary. They really don't do much. But if they're not there, it's just odd.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with them. I mean,
yeah.
You want to play a gnome? That's cool. I mean, you don't have to.
We just want to say us at Wild Games Productions does not condone the comments by Matt about referees and how they're useless. So we love the referees of the WWE and TNA and the Independents. Sorry, GFW.
Or is it still called that?
I don't know what it's called this week. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, that would derail things. So
yes.
Moving on.
Anyways, getting with likes and dislikes, like I had mentioned, I love playing elves, especially in first edition, because you get that attacks with bows and swords have +1.
Well, if you play by the book, most of the races have these big restrictions on them for class wise. The only one that doesn't.
I'm never going to hit the 9th level anyways, so it's not that big of a deal.
Well, you know what? Our campaign's starting at 10th level. What are you going to do?
Well, I'll be a 4th level. I'll be a 4th level fighter, and not 4th level, 7th level. I'll be a 7th level fighter and a 10th level magic user. Or that's the thing. Like, if we're starting at 10th level, how are we divvying up those experience points? That's the other problem with multiclassing. Call back to that. But yeah, like, I don't know. I've always loved elves. I think it comes from
wanting to be an elf.
Yes, wanting to be an elf. With basic D&D, how you get the best of both worlds, and they're just really different, races, class.
Everybody plays elves. They're not that different.
Anyways, the races class rules, they kind of persist over from basic D&D into advanced D&D. With the fighter magic user multiclass.
I've always been partial to humans. I always like humans, even though everyone's like,
you can identify with humans, can't you?
Yeah. Shut up, Nick. People are like, well, you're a human in real life. Why would you want to be a human in a fantasy game?
I hate that argument.
Yeah, that's what people always say. Why don't you be something you can't be in real life? I'm like, dude, I want to play a human. Leave me alone. Do I say to you, you can't be this? So.
Yeah.
I want to eventually dual class.
fun of dual classing, pal. Yes, that's the only thing a human can't do is multi-class, which I never understood why they couldn't multi-class, but...
Well, they can dual class, though.
Yeah, but that's totally different.
Yeah, I think the idea behind the multi-class is that the demi-humans live longer, so therefore they have more time to experience the multiple trainings to become the multiple classes and still experience at that age. I think that's kind of the reasoning behind it. Whereas the dual class is, hey, I'm changing jobs for a human, so that's why it's a dual class.
Your job. Oh, sorry.
I don't know. Dual classing is like its own show.
Yeah, it is. And we could get into that. There's a whole other thing about them.
With kind of multi-classing and those rules, like what about restrictions? Like I had said earlier, if we're starting at 10th level, I'm a 7th level fighter, maybe 6th level depending on my strength, and a 10th level magic user. Like I can only gain one more level in that game, and then I'm done.
Well, you could just not level and continue playing as the person left behind.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I could have a second character,
or you can just wish yourself into being a human.
Oh, why would I want to be a human when I can be an elf?
Here's something.
I hate that argument.
Here's something. You brought up like elves and how they get like the bonuses for either long sword, short sword. You have to pick one, and then the longbow or short bow, I believe. Longbow or short bow, right? You have to pick one of those. Well, how come we don't have that for the other race for a certain weapon?
Is there not any rules for dwarves with dwarven war axes?
No,
there isn't. I've done something with that, like in my own Castle Greyhawk campaign.
This is a Grayskull.
I know the actual reason for that. I know why that is, and it's a big thing that affects classic D&D as well. Basically, what happened is the original game is written to use chainmail as its rule set, and then as they started updating things, people left a bunch of rules that only work with chainmail in the game, and they just didn't do them. So elves in the original game, if you have magic swords specifically, you get an extra pip to determine hits.
What they're talking about, but like with elves though, in AD&D you get that bonus for short sword, long sword, and stuff. But we don't have that for the other races.
Yeah, it's more than likely Gary had something in mind where he's like, "Oh, this is how I did it for these rules," and then he just was like, I guess maybe out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
but it's basically a holdover from.
I have come up with something though, something I use in my current campaign, and see if this makes sense to you guys. So we have the ones for elves, right? The player's handbook. Dwarves get a +1 to hit with battle axe, warhammer, and crossbow. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halflings +1 to hit with short sword, dagger, and sling.
Yeah.
Half orcs, they get a +1 to hit with either with spear, battle axe, and polearm.
Oh, really?
The choice of polearm.
I would have said two-handed weapon there. But...
Okay, or two-handed weapon. This is what I'm using in my current camp.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and for the most hated gnome race, so I have +1 to hit with military pick, short sword, and sling.
I'm not sure how because dwarves don't have a racial weapon bonus, but they already have a bonus for certain enemy types.
Well, so do elves, don't they?
Yes.
Do they have that?
I thought so.
I believe so.
+1 dexterity. No, they just have the +1.
All right.
With those specific weapons, whereas dwarves are if you're fighting orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, and half orcs, they get a +1 to hit on their rolls. I thought,
and half elves don't have a weapon bonus. either.
No, but I think that's just because they're
half an elf.
Because they're like that child of both worlds kind of thing. They get what is it like? Isn't it like literally almost exactly half the bonuses of an elf,
Right.
like for resistance to charm and sleep?
Excuse me. I did for half elves. They get either a +1 to hit. They get +1 to hit with a short sword or long sword. They choose one. Short bow or long bow, and they choose one of the two, and that's their +1 to hit bonus. So those are some of the things I've done in my campaign, because I always thought, why elves have all these bonuses for these certain weapons and the other races don't? I thought those kind of made sense to me, and it's worked pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of throwing that out there. So just make the other races look a little more enticing to play, maybe, if you look at it for a fighting standpoint. So,
cool.
I guess another question is, have you introduced any races of your own that you've created into beyond the basic one? I'm just kind of curious.
That's gonna be a big no for me.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I haven't done.
Yeah, the only one I've done is half hobgoblin.
Half hobgoblin.
Half hobgoblin.
What? All right.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Yes, I need a backstory.
Yeah, actually, this is from Hackmaster, and I've kind of ported it over at AD&D. They can speak hobgoblin, common, goblin, and dwarf. They can do for multiclass. They can do fighter cleric, fighter thief, fighter assassin. They get a +1 to their dex when you create them, +1 to their con, but a -1 to their intelligence, wisdom, and comeliness if you use comeliness.
No, not really.
But if you do.
Yeah, true.
In human, hobgoblin, and dwarven societies, half hobgoblins suffer a -1 reaction roll penalty. And if you're in elf and gnome societies around them, -4 reaction roll. And then they can movement rate of 12. And I got a PDF of this. I'll see if I can bring this over, and we can maybe have our listeners take a look at this, and maybe having the half hobgoblin race maybe in their campaign. Then you could easily like modify this to use in AD&D. I mean, it's written for Hackmaster 4th edition. You can easily use it. So that's one I've introduced. I mean, you have half orcs. Why not half hobgoblins? What the heck? So I could send this file off to you, and then we could maybe post it.
Okay. Yeah. Matt can post it on the website somewhere or in the show notes somewhere. Definitely.
It's weird to me that half orcs can only go up to level 10 as fighters. You would think like fighting would be the thing that half orcs would be the best at, and not assassin.
I always thought it was weird when they also with the half orc, they can't be barbarians. They can't be a barbarian class.
Huh. Well,
I would think that would work perfect for
that
would.
yeah.
Right.
What are the races on barbarian?
I think it's just human.
It can't be like a wild elf barbarian, because isn't that basically their society?
Unearth Arcana for barbarian. Let's see. For barbarian, we'll look it up in Unearth. Barbarian. Wow. Yeah. Only humans can be barbarians according to the Unearth Arcana.
All right.
But, I mean, that's by the rule book. Obviously, in your own campaign world, you can do whatever you want. That'd be cool to have dwarven barbarians. That would be pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, the Battle Rager.
Heck yeah, that would be so cool.
Dwarven barbarians, isn't that kind of like the dwarves from that one Rolaids book of dwarves?
Oh, yeah.
Or is that yeah. or am I thinking of the elves? Maybe that was the elf, because there was the elves in the dwarves book. One of them had one of those races. It's like a barbarian-ish tribe.
I know, like, I think it's like from Forgotten Realms, like the wild elves are basically they're just basically barbarian. They're like Sumerian elves. Conan elves.
Yeah, I can see like barbarian dwarves.
Barbarian gnomes? Yeah, so it was like in other editions, once you started getting the dearth of races and classes, I'm like, oh, I can make a pixie barbarian. Pixie barbarian hordes are now going to be flooding my players.
Actually, you know what? That's a viable class race combo in Hackmaster 4th Edition, Pixie Fairy Barbarian.
Oh boy.
Yeah, of course, the comedy game for comedians.
Hey!
No, I'm just saying how funny you are, Nick.
Let's just save that for the Hackmaster Oh wait, there isn't one.
There isn't one, yes. But anyway.
I'm just like looking at the table on page 14 with like the race level limits, which is something I love in first edition. When you try to like bring in which races can be what in like modern games, people get real mad at you.
Yeah,
like, it's in the book. I should be able to be it. It's in the book. And it's like, yeah, but like it doesn't make sense. Like dwarves in this world they're literally made of stone. They can't channel magic. No, I want to be a dwarf sorcerer. I want to be a dwarferer.
A dwarfer.
Yeah, out of spite. But well, like
that's when you Crispy as a DM say, unfortunately in my world it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I do, but then they go on the Giant of the Playground forums and find out like which combat monster build they can make in order to punish me for having an idea that doesn't fit with it's in the book. Anyways, some of the level limits,
that's when you kill them.
They're a little weird. Like I said, 8th level, you can like half orc specifically. Yeah. You can only go to 10th level as a fighter. You can only go to 8th level as a thief, but you can go to 14th level would be the cap for assassin.
Right, and also going on top of that, if you look at Unearthed Arcana, if you're a single class character of like elf or whatever. Non-human, saying that the listing there in Unearthed Arcana and I guess Player's Handbook, you add 2 levels above that, so your max is a little bit higher.
Oh yeah, half-orc thieves with a dexterity of less than 17 are limited to 6th level. Right. Those with 17 or more are limited to 7th level.
Yeah, but if I remember it in the Unearthed Arcana book here, they had an explanation. They said, level limits given and implied in the subclasses may be exceeded by 2 if all classes where A, the character is single class, and B, the class in question could be a multi-class choice for that character. So if you're a single class fighter, whatever that level limit is listed, you add 2 to that if you're single class, like a fighter dwarf.
Is that something you guys use, like these footnotes? Is that I would just look at the table and go, that's the rule. That's what we get to do. I don't know if I would get into like the minutia of your stat is 1 point higher, so you get an extra level.
Yeah, well, I mean that depends on how you play
it. That way. Right. Some people play you can't be a cleric for a dwarf. So
yeah,
because it's in parentheses, so
only means an NPC, and
only NPCs. Yeah,
a couple games.
The only reason I could think of why they added that little rule about you could go up additional 2 levels if you're single class for like a dwarf or an elf is that's an advantage over being multi-classed.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
it makes it a little more enticing to play a single class character, I guess.
Yeah, because with AD&D, you can kind of tell when things got tacked on that they didn't really like, but they added anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the reason Humans Are Unlimited is because they kind of wanted to make it a human-centric game.
Yeah.
And so they threw in the level limits. They made the Bard that bizarre class that you, if you go by the book, you may not actually ever be able to become a Bard.
Yeah, I hate the Bard class as written.
I still don't understand the Bard.
Right. It was one of those things. It got tacked on. We're throwing it in there, but we don't really like it. And
that's why it was in the appendix.
Right. And I think multiclassing is that as well. It's like, well, what do you do when you have a game and you don't have enough people to play the roles? All the roles you need. Hey, multi-class. Okay. Hire NPCs. No, we don't want to spend our gold on that. We want to be able to do it all. Okay, well, here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah. I also think multi-classing is there so you can have that, like, old, like, original D&D feel.
Yeah.
Because all elves are multi-class, technically.
Okay.
It was weird back in the original edition as well, where it's like you go to sleep one night and you wake up and you choose which outfit you're going to wear for that day. Do you put on your helmet? Do you put on your wizard hat?
Put on the hat. That's nice.
Yeah. Nice. I put on my robe and wizard hat.
Okay, well, let's move on from this segment.
Yeah, I think
we've beaten this into the ground.
Yes, we have.
Treasure chest coming up next.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you. You have opened the treasure chest. You may choose an item.
In the treasure chest today, I've opened up the book again, and I pulled out a simple magical item for possibly like a lower level campaign. I would probably say around level 2 or 3. Maybe this would be a good idea to give this ring out. It's a ring that I just kind of made up on the whim one day when a character kept losing his armor in the game. Don't ask, but always had a tendency of taking his armor off or jumping in water without thinking and rusting away. And he was just like, well, I need something to help, so always have protection. So I came up with the ring of hard shell. I gave it a value of 1,000 gold pieces, an XP value of only 100. So when this ring is worn, the clothes of the wearer will turn to the equivalent of wearing leather armor. This does not stack or add extra protection if wearing normal armor over the clothing. Once the wearer of the ring puts on like normal armor or something with more protective armor class, the hard shell cancels out. Now, the benefit of wearing this and keeping it on, should your armor rust off or be taken off of you because, or you pull it off because you're falling in water, it automatically will turn on again to protect the wearer. Once the ring is taken off, the clothes obviously go back to normal. Now, a question also came up, well, what happens if they're not wearing any clothes? Well, then their natural skin would also become the armor class of the leather armor.
Of leather armor.
Yeah. And there's no activation, there's no charge, it's just a constant active ring. Once you wear it, you put it on, boom, you got that armor class.
That is cool.
Yeah, and the player actually, he liked it. It was simple, it wasn't too powerful that it like broke the game. And, he got to have his way by running around naked half the time. So,
I was, as you were reading, I was laughing to myself because it's like, in my head, your skin turns to leather. Like you just
no.
One of those old ladies with the beach blonde hair who was tanned way too much.
No.
Like the cabana lady?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
No, I don't think that was
who's
his
that
intent.
actor? George. Oh God, what is his name?
But this is like a perfect magic item for thieves and magic using types.
Yeah, I would definitely give this to my magic users so they would stop dying.
And it'd be perfect for a magic user because you got the equivalent of a leather armor class always because you're wearing your robes and you never get that bonus unless you're wearing ring protections or you get some bless or whatever else you need to have. And boom, you got this ring.
Could this stack with like a ring of protection?
I would say it would. I mean, I don't think that would break the game too much.
I would think so too.
Because you only
but if you put on bracers of defense,
it still would stack.
Well, what if your bracers of defense are AC5?
Actually, no, you're right. That's true. Unless they're bracers of like plus whatever 1 or something. Or...
Yeah,
it would have to be a bracers that modify as opposed to just change.
Right. Okay. But that would be cool. You could get a couple ring of protection along with this.
Okay. Speaking of this, let me ask you a question, Nick. Since you're the next most experienced person here with gaming here, no offense to the youngins, how many rings do you let your characters wear in a game? At once, that have active magical properties.
I think, if I remember, I thought the rule was always like you could have up to 3.
Okay, the rule that I've always gone by is 2, 1 on each hand.
Okay,
and I believe
might have been 2. I
just was wondering because I believe that was a Gygaxian rule, but I'm not sure if it was an official rule or not. So I was just trying to see what you did.
That might be in the DM's guide, actually.
Chrispy, what do you do? What is your stance on that?
Oh man, I've never had that come up. I know the rule now is 2, like in the most recent edition. It's, 1 for each hand. But I do like the idea of being able to be the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought it was in the new edition you can only attune to 2 rings at once, but you can wear.
You can only attune to 3 magic items.
Yeah,
total.
that's right. Yeah, and you can
but
wear.
You only have 2
it's right there under the
slots.
rings description in the DMG page 129.
Yeah. What does it say?
No more than 2 magic rings can be worn by a character at the same time. More are worn than none will function.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
So it has always been 3. Yeah.
So always been 2.
2.
No more than 1 ring can be worn on the same hand.
Yeah.
The second will cause both of them to be useless. So they must be worn.
Well, I know in 5th you can attune to 3 rings. I thought because people were arguing that at one point.
No, it's 2.
Is it?
And no nose
2.
rings. 2.
No nose rings.
1 on each hand.
That's gross.
It has to be on your hand as well. You can't have
1 on your hand.
You don't have a nose
foot.
ring slot.
No.
Yeah.
You can't have 1 on your toe.
Toe rings.
No nipple rings.
All right,
belly button.
No, we're going down the hole. Stop it down.
Sorry.
Anyway, so that's the Ring of Hardshell, and that's just something simple item that I've made up over time in my book. I mean, I'll start throwing more things like this as I find them in my books as I'm uncovering things.
I've liked the last couple that you've thrown out from your own creation.
Yes, I mean,
I was like, oh, these are good. That Vince sure is creative.
Well, thank you, Chrispy. I appreciate all the praise from the save or die expert. I mean, immortal person.
Suck up.
With that, we'll go into creature feature.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5-foot long gorilla?
Creature feature theater.
This week on the creature feature, I'm sorry, but you may be put to sleep. You see, because you see, I decided to go into the Wayback Machine to the early days of the interwebs, back in the days of $R. Yeah, and I found a depository.
You mean repository?
I think you mean repository?
Repeat that, please?
I found a suppository.
I found a depository.
Repository.
A repository.
Yes.
Of all the old netbooks that floated around back in the days.
Cease and desist.
Yes, this is. I will have a link in the show notes because if you've never seen them in a newer gamer, you need to because there's some classics here. Lots of useful stuff. Like there's one on thieves' cants and all that. But then there's the complete guides to carnal knowledge and alcohol.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Because even back then, gamers were still.
Link.
I love that these are Word 6.0/95 ASCII.
Yes, ASCII word 2.0.
I just saw the word 2.0 one. Did you find these on a Usenet forum, Matt?
I remember these from back in the day, and I'm like, I should go dig into these. I haven't looked at these in years, so I searched for the
bookmark this.
It's great. It is absolutely great, and I found the Net Monstrous Compendium, Volume 2. And I was going through it, and I found this creature that I found.
Complete Guide to Hygiene?
Yes! It has spells. It has monsters. It's like the alcohol book has an alcohol dragon.
I think this should be the show now. Let's scrap everything we just did.
Do all the old net books from 1996.
I'm bookmarking this right now.
Yeah, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah. It's also a train wreck, too.
Yes, it is.
God, I love that Web 1.0 formatting. I remember the 90s.
You know what, Crispy? That's all we had back then. Leave us alone, okay?
You guys remember The Crow and Jane's Addiction?
Okay. Hey. Matt, please back on track.
Yes.
Woo! As we're going back, I found one. It's the Dream Assassin here.
Dream Warriors.
Yes, 1, 2, he's coming for you. Because you see, the Dream Assassin, they are the group that they catch the adventurers off guard at night. They expel a sleeping gas, so they try to get the adventurers asleep, and then they pick the one who looks like the biggest, toughest fighter, and then invade their dreams, and then engage in dream combat. Where once in the dream combat, the Dream Assassin it attacks with like 2d4 plus 4 damage with like 3 attacks every 2 rounds with an armor class of 0, and no matter what the character had on when they were sleeping in the dream realm, they have an armor class 10.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And no matter what weapon they have, it actually attacks as a 1d6 club. That's the damage it does. And then
that's just wrong.
There is a
sucks.
Yeah, there also is a modifier to the armor class there. So it's a base 10, but then you take your intelligence and wisdom and divide by 3.6.
Why 3.6?
And round up.
Why 3.6? That's a weird.
I don't know. I have no idea unless it's you divide that by 3 because that's the number of 6-sided die you roll, but I don't understand the 0.6. It has to have something to do with you rolled 3 die and each die has 6 sides. I don't know.
I'm trying to see if it's like some kind of Fibonacci like divine spiral thing, and it's not. Yeah. 3.6 is such a weird. Yeah, that's really weird. Also, this thing is
weird.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you lose the dream combat, your body is then taken over by the Dream Assassin, who then will proceed to, as you go around and cause chaos.
Oh yeah, he's your boyfriend now.
Yes. And then the animated victim will be. Let's see here, because the great thing about these old things is they're worded terribly, and the verbiage and spelling is horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Assassin was misspelled multiple times.
Yes, it was.
Yes. Yeah. If the assassin loses, he loses control of the victim, and the victim wakes up in the stream combat. But when they win, that's when they get to just wreak havoc as you.
Why? No magic resistance on this race? I mean, monster, why not? I mean, everything else it has.
Right. Well, it's got its sleep cat, and it's got its sleep gas, and it's got the camouflage at 75%.
Undetectable.
Right. So, yeah, this is total like mid-90s. I want to make Freddy Krueger Munchkin gaming monster.
Yes.
Is it weird to anyone else that there's like a weird caveat that when it does take over the fighter's body, let's just assume it's the fighter, when they're awake, they still only have AC 10?
Yeah, I guess because they don't move well.
Yeah.
And they're... Yeah, because but they're still wielding their weapon. And then if they get wounded to 75% of their hit points, they are no longer under the power. So if you pummel them, you can beat it out of them.
And then it makes one more attack to finish them off.
Right.
You know, when I said find a creature that was from the internet, Matt, I didn't say dive into the old TSR Munchkin era.
I got very nostalgic for the days of these crazy.
Hey, if anything, you poke fun at it. It's okay.
Yeah, I love this thing. I love that its diet is that it's an omnivore.
Well, yeah, that's how they classified things towards.
Try to picture Freddy Krueger eating a salad.
Right.
Excuse me a moment. I need a salad with some tomato.
Yeah, and just imagine though, it says number appearing is 1 to 4.
Oh wow!
Imagine if you had 4 and they all take over like a party.
Oh jeez.
Oh, campaign's over.
Then wake up and fight each other? Like,
I don't know.
Or they go and start slaughtering the city. And then you eventually come to and be like, oh my God, what just happened? You could have some interesting stories with this, with NPCs. Like a child murders their parents or something because it got possessed by one of these. And it's talking about this scary dream it had.
That's a really good hook. And then the players have to go to the abandoned mill and solve the mystery.
And the hard thing is, it could jump from person to person.
No, it's
so you never know who the dream assassin could be.
Right. The only catch is the person has to be asleep for it to take it over. You cannot take it over while awake. So you can even hit the point where it's like, if we go to sleep, then we can't. We risk the chance of it going over. So everyone stays up. So you can start throwing in the sleep fatigue modifiers, like, oh, you guys haven't slept in like a couple days.
Yeah. Oh, you just took a micro nap.
Uh-oh, you're starting to doze off. You fell asleep on watch. Yeah.
If you're on watch, everyone's going to be on watch.
That's right.
Start throwing in the insanity rules and stuff like that. Have it be
Yeah.
I
mean, there's some interesting things you can do with it. Yeah, it's a little overpowered, but it could easily, if you had only one, have it be a really interesting start of a campaign or a plot hook for an adventure of just dealing with this. When all of a sudden all these crazy things start happening in a town and people acting weird or killing things, and then I think you can actually maybe adjust it a little bit so it's not quite as insane when it comes to it's going to take you over and kill you. I would even say maybe have it to where once the players figure out what's going on, they can maybe do things to prepare their astral dream selves. So you get Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
Could this creature, where is it from?
It is from the net
material plane?
It actually doesn't say. So that's something you can actually make up.
Because I'm wondering, could this thing be turned?
I don't think it's on. Is it an undead? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is undead. It doesn't really say what it is.
Under the special category on the cleric's turning table.
Yeah.
You get high enough level as a cleric, you can turn demons and devils and what have you.
Yeah, I would definitely, because I would stick with the Freddy Krueger theme of it having a messed up face and make it a Githyanki.
Ooh.
Maybe it's a fallen Githyanki. It doesn't have a silver sword. Ooh. So, you can, if you manage to steal a silver sword, you can Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors it.
Dream Warriors. Oh, sorry. Anyway,
I would wonder, maybe even an exorcism spell might work on these.
Yeah, if it's trapped in a form, yeah, I could see an exorcism to force it out because it's doing a possession.
Right.
Does it have a? It has a body though. It exists in the physical world.
Right.
It's 75% invisible.
Hey, I know. Why don't we just email Warren Hack and see what he has to say?
Yeah, we do actually have his old
Yeah, he wrote this while in college.
Hey, I still have my college email address.
I still have mine as well.
Maybe he still has his.
Somehow, I don't think he probably has his.
You never know. This book was updated in October 12th of 1996.
Matt, send an email to him, Mr. Warren Hack, and find out for us on behalf of the show.
Yeah,
I will track him down on. Who knows? Maybe he's out there listening. It wouldn't be the first time we talk about something on the show in the list.
Warren, if you're out there, let us know.
Yes.
Warren is probably like, "What D&D? I haven't played that in 30 years." But yeah. All right. Well, cool. Now that we dream warrior, let's go to sleep and get out of here. I think that's going to end the show. We're going to say good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is part of the Wild Games Productions Network and produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. If you'd like to contact us, go to rfipodcast.com, click on Contact Us, or email us at rfistaff@gmail.com. Voicemail line 570-865-4210. Facebook.com/rfipodcast for more.